WION.
Gravitas tells you stories which others won't. And tonight we will tell you about this new strategic map that is being drawn.
They say your enemy's enemy is your friend. Is that the foundation of the new defense bridge between India and America?
This is what separates us from others who claim to be telling you global stories that matter. In the last 3 days, WION has been traveling across Syria. You are in Latakia city right now. Tell us, what is the situation on ground? At Gravitas, we don't just tell you stories from selected countries from around the world.
2 years since the Myanmar military coup, the people of Myanmar continue to live in a nightmare.
Because it does not suit their propaganda, or because they are too scared to speak truth to power.
The stress of our world can take a toll on our physical and emotional health. Here, in New York's Catskill Mountains, lies a luxurious place of healing called WION Wellness Center. The WION Wellness Center provides 500,000 square feet of natural methods to manage diabetes, hypertension, chronic pain, obesity, depression, anxiety, and other conditions. We use the traditions of centuries-old natural science from India, yoga, Ayurveda, acupuncture, and naturopathy in personalized programs that help you take charge of your own health. A minimum 5-day stay is recommended for best results. Book now at yo1.com.
Stay connected with the world through WION. Like the page on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter for new alerts. Instagram for videos and images. And the website for the latest news, views, and analysis. WIONews.com. World is one.
Gravitas tells you stories which others won't. And tonight we will tell you about this new strategic map that is being drawn.
They say your enemy's enemy is your friend. Is that the foundation of the new defense bridge between India and America?
This is what separates us from others who claim to be telling you global stories that matter. In the last 3 days, WION has been traveling across Syria. You are in Latakia city right now. Tell us, what is the situation on ground? At Gravitas, we don't just tell you stories from selected countries from around the world.
2 years since the Myanmar military coup, the people of Myanmar continue to live in a nightmare.
Because it does not suit their propaganda, or because they are too scared to speak truth to power.
The stress of our world can take a toll on our physical and emotional health. Here,
Hello and welcome. You're watching Gravitas with me, Molly Gambhir. Here's a look at what's lined up for you on the show tonight. Our cover story tonight is about the anti-Hindu hate that's spreading in the UK, specifically in British schools. You heard that right. Let's tell you what a new report has found. It highlights the plight of Hindu students, and the takeaways are shocking to say the least. According to it, Hindu students are being bullied for their beliefs. Just how widespread is anti-Hindu hatred in the UK, and what's the reason? We get you detailed findings. We discuss this and more as a part of our cover story. Also on the show for you, Aaradhya Bachchan versus YouTube tabloids. We tell you why the 11-year-old dragged a YouTube channel to court. All about the Yemen humanitarian crisis. We tell you how the people are paying the price. New Zealand's cat killing contest for children set the cat among the pigeons. It was forced to scrap that contest. We get you more. Would you like to have a meal 15 miles above planet Earth? We tell you more about this. There seems to be canker, or perhaps a cancer, at the heart of something Britain can be genuinely proud of. It's schools and colleges. British schools and colleges have been the envy, after all, of the modern world. You know, attracting children of elites from around the world. But here's something that may tarnish that pride. It seems that schools in the UK have become breeding grounds for anti-Hindu hate. Have a look at this. This is a report by the Henry Jackson Society, a non-partisan London-based think tank that strives to spread democracy and liberal values globally. It has conducted the first national study into discrimination against Hindus in the UK. And what does the study reveal? That anti-Hindu hate is widespread in British schools. That Hindu students have become victims of bullying, racial discrimination, threats of conversion. Some children keep hearing that as quote-unquote unbelievers, they are destined for hell. Can you believe that? Others are labeled terms like kafir, which some perceive to be a derogatory term for unbelievers. Let me start with some figures. According to the study, 51% of Hindu parents surveyed said that their child had experienced hate crimes in his or her school. 81% of the parents said the schools were unable to identify the crime as anti-Hindu hate. We wonder if they were unable or unwilling. 85% of the parents said the schools did not address anti-Hindu related incidents. There were a total of 8 cases of physical abuse that were described in detail by the parents, and there were at least 3 cases of students having to move schools due to anti-Hindu bullying. And if I speak of specific instances and testimonies, one parent revealed that her child used to go to school with a religious symbol on his forehead, and he was bullied to the point that he no longer wanted to attend school. Can you imagine the plight of that student? And what's worse, the same thing happened at other schools, so much so that the child had to change his school 3 times within East London, 3 times. Another parent revealed that her child had beef thrown at her by her Muslim classmates. They labeled her as a kafir and told her to convert if she wanted the bullying to stop. Another parent said that her child was told her religion was inferior. This is what his classmates once told him, and I'm quoting, "You are not going to survive very long. If you want to go to paradise, you will have to come to Islam. Hindus are the herbivores at the bottom of the food chain and will eat you up." And then have a look at this testimony. One parent said that his child was often held accountable for political issues in India. He was asked to give clarifications for political decisions back home. And by the way, it isn't just students perpetuating this hate. The teachers and the authorities have been equally blamed. In fact, one parent said that his child's class teacher would often show material that would highlight perceived ills within Hinduism, like casteism, and this type of selective highlighting and attribution of casteism to Hinduism would often lead to bullying. These testimonies are appalling, to say the least, and the lack of action even more so. The parents surveyed say that every time they complained, their requests were met with disdain and were not followed up thoroughly. How should we perceive this? Are British schools deliberately letting anti-Hindu hate perpetuate on their campuses? Some of you may feel that I am exaggerating misbehavior of the kind familiar in schools, as is known. School children can be cruel, but I don't ask or raise these questions without reason. In the last couple of years, you see, we have witnessed several instances in the UK of Hindus being targeted for their identity. Just have a look at what happened last year. In September 2022, there were a string of attacks on Hindus living in Leicester and Smethwick. Videos showed mobs of British Pakistani men vandalizing homes, cars, businesses owned by Hindus. These attacks started right after the Asia Cup, where Pakistan was badly defeated by the Indian side. So rattled British Pakistani men decided to take their anger out on the Hindu community in the UK. And what's worse, the British media portrayed this as communal clashes. They did not talk about who started the violence. The headlines took the easy way out by blaming both the Hindus and the Muslims for the unrest. And then take this headline. Have a look at what it reads. Leicester disorder. Fear lingers among city's Muslims and Hindus. But the violence started with Muslim attacks. My point here is simple. Hatred against Hindus in the UK, hatred against Hindus in the UK is not restricted to one community or one school or one area. Look at this report now. The New Statesman published this in May 2022. The headline reads, How Labour Lost the Indian Vote. And what follows are lengthy paragraphs on how radicalized Indian politics has made Hindu voters in the UK. It links, quote-unquote, Hindu nationalism in the UK for the political decision of the Indian voters. But this is far from being the whole story. In the same period, the British have also proved that at the larger level, among the electorate, there is astonishing enlightenment and liberalism, perhaps unmatched anywhere else. Britain has made a practicing Hindu with an Indian wife Prime Minister of Britain, indeed the first non-white Prime Minister in its history. Rishi Sunak does not hide his Hinduism. He worships Lord Krishna in the Prime Ministerial home, 10 Downing Street. Not merely that, he has pulled the opinion poll ratings of his party from the depths to at least a fighting level, proving that voters across the political divide are not racist, pure and simple. So do the two facts contradict each other? In a way, what is certain is that while the majority of British voters reject racism, there is a strong, entrenched and powerful section that is making racism more powerful, more intolerant. It so happens that Hinduism is the third largest religion practiced in the UK. Hindus are a positive contribution to the British economy, community building and cultural diversity. But you see, nothing is perfect. And from the United Kingdom, we turn to the United States. Is it about to witness the return of the Kennedy dynasty? A dynasty that once ruled American politics, public service and entertainment. From senators to ambassadors to athletes to a president, members of this family have been some of the most successful Americans in recent history. Will a scion now restore this family to its days of glory? What am I talking about? Robert F. Kennedy Jr., the nephew of former U.S. President John F. Kennedy and the son of former U.S. Attorney General Robert Kennedy. He has launched his bid for the 2024 Democratic presidential nomination, a bid that might pit him directly against the U.S. President Joe Biden. The 69-year-old made the announcement in Boston. He made an extensive campaign launch speech as well, lambasting school and business closures during the pandemic, also insisting that the US government and the media lied to the American people. Let's just listen in to some of the most telling excerpts from his speech.
I've come here today to announce my candidacy for the Democratic nomination for President of the United States. My mission over the next 18 months of this campaign and throughout my presidency will be to end the corrupt merger of state and corporate power that is threatening now to impose a new kind of corporate feudalism on our country. to commoditize our children, our Purple Mountain's majesty.
So Kennedy has made his intention quite clear. He is going to pull no punches when it comes to attacking the current government. But who exactly is he? What are his credentials? And does he stand a chance of winning? Let's just take this one at a time. Kennedy Jr. is an environmental lawyer and author. He is the president of the Waterkeeper Alliance, a global network of environmental organizations. And in the past, he has served as the assistant district attorney in New York City. In fact, he is notorious for promoting the scientifically discredited link between vaccines and autism. Since the emergence of COVID-19, he has been accused of promoting COVID-19 misinformation. In the year 2022, Kennedy invoked Nazi Germany in an anti-vaccine speech at the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C. He likened vaccine policies in the US to the actions of a totalitarian state, even suggesting Anne Frank was in a better situation when she was hiding from the Nazis. And the previous year, in 2021, Instagram and Facebook took down his account. Why? For repeatedly sharing debunked claims about the coronavirus or the vaccines. And in 2019, 3 members of his family, his sister Kathleen Kennedy Townsend, brother Joseph P. Kennedy II, and niece Maeve Kennedy McCain, forcefully denounced his anti-vaccine views in a political magazine op-ed. They argued that he was part of a misinformation campaign that is having heartbreaking and deadly consequences. And this anti-vaccine activism has earned him allies on the right. In fact, in the year 2017, then President Donald Trump tapped him to oversee a vaccine review panel, drawing criticism from scientists who said that it could legitimize unfounded skepticism. So these were the controversies around him. What about his chances of winning then? Well, if we go by the opinion polls, he has little chance of success, at least for now. And that is because only 2 candidates have announced their bid so far. And Biden is well poised to beat both of them. But one cannot be sure if things will remain the same in the days ahead. Like I said, Kennedy Jr. is a member of a storied US political dynasty. He is the nephew of JFK, the youngest person to assume the presidency, also the youngest president to die. He served at the height of the Cold War. His policies are said to have revolutionized American politics. So a section of the American voter base may give Robert F. Kennedy Jr. a chance, given the success of his family in American politics, but his track record, his statements, his anti-vaccine policies, the controversies, may prove to be a big obstacle. Fame comes at a price, a hefty one at that. You see, being in the spotlight leaves little room for privacy. And then there is the paparazzi culture, where cameras are waiting for you just about everywhere you go. What the celebrities are eating, what they are drinking, where they are going, with whom they are spotted, just about everything becomes fodder for a tabloid, a blog, a YouTube video, sometimes garnering millions of views, basically profiting from a public figure's personal life. But what happens if a mere child in her tender years finds herself in this situation? 11-year-old Aaradhya Bachchan, the granddaughter of Indian megastar Amitabh Bachchan, has fallen victim to fake news on YouTube. As many as 9 YouTube channels were spreading misinformation about the 11-year-old. These were the ones that came under scrutiny. The actual number could be higher. You see, it doesn't take much to run a YouTube channel these days and share content about celebrities. The YouTube entities in this case were spreading rumors about Aaradhya's health. They claimed that she was critically ill. Some said that she had trouble walking. Some went as far as to say that she was no more. On top of that, they claimed she was distressed. Can you believe that? And all this for what? To attract eyeballs and gain viewership? These are the kind of videos that are profusely shared, forwarded countless times. They are tweeted, retweeted. After all, everyone wants to know what Abhishek and Aishwarya Bachchan's daughter is up to. But does that mean her privacy is a joke? Whether it's a common person's child or a celebrity's child, don't all children deserve to be treated with respect? Their privacy safeguarded? Shouldn't their personal information be handled safely and responsibly? Outraged by the rumors, the Bachchan family moved court, Aaradhya Bachchan, suing the YouTube channels through her father for 2 crore rupees, as in over $243,000. The matter is being heard in the Delhi High Court, and taking a strong view, the court has said that spreading misinformation about a child, that too about their physical and mental health, is completely intolerable in law. In fact, it has ordered Google to take down the videos on YouTube as well as from other websites. The responsible YouTube entities have been asked to be immediately delisted and deactivated if any such videos are uploaded in the future. Aaradhya can notify the court and they will be taken down. The tech giant has landed in hot water. Questions are being raised about the responsibility when it comes to screening the content. The court has questioned Google's policy over such sensitive matters. Justice C. Hari Shankar, who is taking care of the case, said, and I'm quoting, "There is misleading information which is defamatory, and then there is misleading information which says that someone is dead. YouTube does not run for charity. It is a profit-making platform. If you are making money out of what you are doing, you have a social responsibility." The court has directed Google to disclose its policy, its compliance with the IT rules 2021 coming under question. The court has also directed the tech giant to provide details of the infringers. It has asked for their contact numbers and their email IDs. You see, this is the first of its kind court ruling. It is a landmark judgment on 3 counts. First off, it upholds a child's privacy. Secondly, the court mentioned that all children, whether a celebrity's child or a common person's child, they should be treated with respect. And lastly, YouTube and Google should have a zero tolerance against fake news in the same way as child pornography. Celeb kids have always been on the radar of trolls. Fake news is peddled about them without any restriction. Social media handles take zero responsibility to verify the facts. The Bachchan family did not take this lightly, and neither did the court. And it will be taking up the case again on the 13th of July. And our next story is about the deepening humanitarian crisis in Yemen. Several people there have died after they attempted to get a few dollars worth of charity handouts during the holy month of Ramzan. That's the level of desperation and hunger. This comes as Yemen reaches nearly a decade of its civil war. And this is how people on the ground are paying the price for the civil war. How severe hunger is driving people towards self-destruction. Yemen's capital Sana'a witnessed citizens of the war-torn nation flocking to receive charity handouts from local merchants. But what was meant to be a peaceful distribution turned into a chaotic scene for dozens of people. Packed tightly together, unable to move, screaming for help, Some people stretching out their arms in hopes of survival, while the visuals show shoes and slippers heaped into piles. These were citizens looking to receive a small sum of money just days before the Muslim holiday of Eid al-Fitr, which marks the end of the holy month of Ramzan. This might sound shocking, but the crowd of hundreds gathered there to gather a donation of nearly $9 per person. It can certainly be considered a crisis when over 80 people sacrificed their lives for merely $9. That is how bad the hunger crisis is in the country. What is the current status? The dead and the injured have been transferred to hospitals, while the head of the Houthi Supreme Political Council has ordered an investigation into the incident. The Houthi-run General Authority for Zakat has announced that it will be providing around $4,000 for the victims and up to $800 for those injured. A stampede driven by despair, driven by people who just wanted something to eat, could be the result of a war which has created a culture of death and sadness as it continues to completes a decade. The country's conflict started in 2014 when Houthi forces toppled the Saudi-backed government. This spiraled into a wider war when a Saudi-led coalition intervened to lash back at the Houthis. Eventually, it became a proxy war. The UN describes the situation in Yemen as the worst humanitarian crisis in the world. But this gruesome stampede is not an isolated incident. A severe economic crisis has also brought Pakistan to its knees. We've been telling you about this, just how bad the situation on the ground is. The crisis-hit country is not able to feed its citizens. And Pakistan's attempts at distributing free flour resulted in multiple stampedes and in the deaths of innocent, starving citizens. The brunt of the economic turmoil can be felt as over 20 people have been killed in stampedes since the start of the fasting month of Ramzan. Recently, at least 12 people were killed in a crowd crush. This was at a factory distributing food for Ramzan. Pakistan has witnessed a series of stampedes, and this is not surprising as the country spirals downwards when it comes to debt, while it hopes to unlock another additional fund of $3 billion from the IMF. The citizens continue to pay the price, and they question just how long will it take for their situation to improve. Shifting focus for now, let's talk about cats. Feral cats, to be specific. They look cute, they are fluffy, but they are considered villains in some parts of the world, especially New Zealand, which plans to hunt them down. And animal rights groups have stopped the country from holding a cat hunting contest for children. Yes, a cat killing contest for children. Our next report getting you the complete story. Take a look.
We have all heard of this question. Are you a cat person or a dog person? Well, New Zealand is definitely not into feral cats. In fact, it is gunning for them quite literally. How? Well, it planned a contest for children where kids could hunt and kill feral cats and receive a top prize of $150. Can you believe this? Basically telling kids kill these animals and get rewarded. New Zealand justified the killing contest by saying that the drive is an initiative to protect the native species. The organizers received angry messages from the public. There was a backlash from animal rights groups, and the event eventually had to be cancelled. Feral cats stand as a threat to the survival of several native species. In neighbouring Australia, they are a threat to the survival of more than 100 native species. Feral cats are blamed for taking away the lives of millions of birds, reptiles and mammals. This often prompts the authorities to launch regular culls. New Zealanders have strong feelings towards these troublemakers. The former Prime Minister John Key once said that cats are the only true sadists of the animal world. They are serial killers who torture without mercy. A feral cat is an unsocialized outdoor cat which has no interaction with humans. These cats are fearful of people and are not capable of becoming a house pet. They are used to the wild, but their kittens can be tamed if taken care of before 4 months. They are the single biggest threat to the country's native species. But these are just regular sized cats. How much harm could they have possibly caused? Let's have a look at the numbers. The felines have helped drive nearly 20 mammal species to extinction. Since preying on native species is easy for them, ferals kill nearly 1 million native birds every day. And if that's not enough, the cats also kill over 1.7 million reptiles every day across Australia. Conservationists say that the authorities need to adopt a holistic approach towards addressing all threats to biodiversity. Rather than concentrating on a scattergun approach where certain contests just hand guns to children and tell them to go on shooting sprees to kill feral cats, experts say that the government should focus on issues like habitat loss caused by urban expansion, logging and mining, which could easily be a reason for the felines to be afraid and roam in the wild while hunting for food. In fact, New Zealand has announced its bold goal of becoming completely predator-free by 2050. Does this mean the island nation will continue to plan similar contests to shoot down predators? Bureau Report, WION, World is One.
Let me now ask you this. What, according to you, is the ideal age for retirement? Is it 65? Or maybe even earlier than that? It reduces by half if we talk about sports persons or athletes. But that is not what the Japanese think. They are pushing the limits, to say the least. You see, 80-year-olds are hitting football pitches. You heard that right. And they are not letting their age stop them. Take a look at our next report to find out more.
They say age is just a number. And some Japanese football players are here to prove that. Meet Mutsuhiko Nomura. He is 83 years old, but that does not stop him from kicking the ball on pitch. He played for Japan's national football team. His career has spanned 70 years and 18 World Cups. Silver Mei Nomura now plays for the over 80 division of Tokyo's Soccer for Life League. Football is a high-contact sport. It was once considered off-limits for older people given the risk of injury. But healthy older people are changing the common perception. The whistle blows, there's a kick-off, and the match begins. The pitch is swarmed by several grey-haired players, including Mutsuhiko Nomura. With stiff backs, creaky knees, and laboured breathing, the SFL players slog under the blazing sun. A few of them stumble and wobble on the pitch. An 89-year-old runs out of breath. He asked to be substituted about 10 minutes into the match, unable to play the rest of the 15-minute half. The eldest of them all is Shingo Shiozawa at an age of 93. He was once a race car designer. Now he plays goalkeeper for SFL's White Bear team. He credits football for motivating him to quit smoking and speeding up his recovery after treatment for spinal stenosis. Shiozawa says the sport saved his life and that if he hadn't played football, he would have been dead. After the game, the teammates toast their prowess with cans of beer in a ritual familiar to many younger players. You see, these players are pushing the boundaries of active living in Japan.
When I was a child, men in their 50s and 60s were considered grandpas. Nowadays, all of us are doing this in our 80s. It's really quite a shock.
Japan's average lifespan is inching up. The country has a population of 126 million. A third of them are aged 65 or more. Japanese life expectancy is now at 85. It ranks amongst the world's highest. Elderly security guards and shopkeepers have become a common sight. When it comes to football, Tokyo created a division for the 0 to 60 age group 2 decades ago. In 2012, the 0 to 70 division followed. 5 years later came the 0 to 75 category. At that rate, 0 to 80 was simply a matter of time.
People's spirits and their physical health are being enriched. People are trying a lot of things, so that's why even society ages. The elderly are healthy, and this is a good direction to be headed in.
The elderly in Japan are not letting their age get in the way. The middle-aged generation looks up to them. It seems 80 is the new 50 in Japan.
Let me now ask you this. What was your most memorable meal? Was it the food that made it special? Was it the company? The restaurant perhaps? The ambience? Was it all of that? You see, meals become experiences that stay with you, especially if you are a foodie. And of course, they don't always have to be fine dining experiences. But if fine wine and dine is what works for you, this story would be of special interest. And the reasons are many. The food, by the way, is out of this world, quite literally. Let me tell you what I'm talking about. How about having a meal on the edge of space? Sounds like a dream, does it? You have some fine food, some wine, and you are 15 miles above planet Earth. Can you imagine that? Does that sound like something you want to do? An out-of-the-world experience? Well, here's how it is being made possible. It's called a luxury pressurized capsule. It goes by the name Celeste. It offers passengers a chance to be up in the air, aloft under a helium balloon. Does that sound great? There's more to it. As a result of this, you get to be on top of the world. Again, quite literally. You get to see planet Earth. And how much will this meal cost you? The price starts at 120,000 euros. That's around 105,000 pounds. The Zefalto company was founded by Vincent Farid, the STS. Its ambitious goal is to start flights when? In the year 2025. And it basically is adding a French touch, French feel and experience to that race which is only heating up as far as other space tourism firms are concerned. There are, of course, other such companies, or as they are called, strato-tourist companies. What do they promise? An unforgettable experience. Zefalto, for example, promises what is called the overview effect. It invites people to feel the extraordinary emotion that only 600 astronauts have felt so far. And believe it or not, seats have already been completely taken. They're all booked. And of course, the space tourism race continues to expand. The list is long. There's also the $1.25 million per ticket plan for Jeff Bezos' Blue Origin rocket. There's also Richard Branson's Virgin Galactic space plane. Let's just tell you a bit more about Celeste. It plans to carry 6 passengers. There will also be 2 pilots. What is the duration going to look like? Well, it will take around 90 minutes to reach an altitude of 15 miles and then spend 3 hours there enjoying that view before coming back to planet Earth in another 90 minutes. Passengers will be enjoying Michelin star cuisine experiences. There's also no rigorous training that is involved. There's also Evaya Gekin, a Japanese startup that aims to offer gentle journeys to 15 miles altitude from late this year. Aboard a small capsule measuring 5 feet in diameter, it will carry a pilot and a passenger. And the price tag that comes with admiring the view from the large windows will be around 150,000 pounds. So clearly, while the race to space continues to heat up, so does the race to become a leader in the field of space tourism. Meanwhile, a rare hybrid solar eclipse over a remote town on Australia's west coast drew thousands, especially those who believe in astrology. Eclipses are dramatic wild cards. They affect horoscopes. But apart from the stargazers and the enthusiasts, there are astronomers who keenly wait for such experiences. Our next report telling you more about how such celestial events are rare opportunities for scientists to unravel the mysteries of our sun.
It's the source of all life on our planet, the custodian of our solar system. Not just heat and light, its gravitational power keeps the planets moving in symphony. But we know very little about our star due to its distance and its blinding light, which obscures itself despite being the brightest object in the sky. However, there is one small window of opportunity to peep closer and deeper to know what the giant ball of fire is hiding. That's what happened on Thursday when parts of our planet witnessed a rare celestial phenomenon. A rare hybrid solar eclipse over a remote town on Australia's west coast.
I know, I'm not looking at glasses.
Oh wow, that is cool.
Astronomy fans and enthusiasts erupted in joy. Hundreds had travelled for just this to Exmouth, a tiny beachside town roughly 1,200 kilometres from state capital Perth. As the moon crossed the sun for a minute, day became night, and as the sun was eclipsed, temperatures dropped too.
Oh, just so thrilled and felt so eerie, and I had shakes. I just so surprised and just something like I'd never experienced before, really.
Everything went cold and it's an amazing thing to see.
And just feeling like the change in the atmosphere, like being around all these people as well, and like kind of getting a sense of their experience too, and then hearing that countdown over there with the crew from Japan. So yeah, just so special.
The hybrid solar eclipse was tracked from the Indian Ocean to the Pacific Ocean. The lucky few people either saw the darkness of a total eclipse or a ring of fire as the sun peeked from behind the new moon. Such celestial events happen about once every decade. The last one was in 2013, and we won't see the next before 2031. But apart from the excitement and jubilation of witnessing the eclipse, there are scientists who wait keenly for these once-in-a-decade events. In such a natural eclipse, the moon plays the perfect occulter. It blocks the surface of the sun, though briefly, and this gives astronomers a rare glimpse very low into the solar atmosphere. Special equipment catches the sun's magnetic field as flares of plasma become visible. How do temperatures rise as you move away from the sun's surface? The mystery continues to confound mankind. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
Let's now tell you what else made news around the world. Time for Gravitas Global Headlines.
5 Indian army personnel have been killed in a terror attack in Kashmir's Poonch sector. Unidentified terrorists fired on army vehicle. Operation underway to nab the terrorists. Elon Musk's iconic rocket Starship, the largest and most powerful ever built, designed to send astronauts to the moon and Mars and beyond, exploded on Thursday during the spacecraft's first test flight. India reports over 12,500 COVID cases in the last 24 hours, nearly 20% higher than the previous day. Active cases in the country crossed the 65,000 mark. 2 people were killed in the northern Chilean city of Calama during a shootout between police officers and the suspects. The suspects first fired shots into the city's main police station. injuring a police officer and a Bolivian national who were inside. After those initial shots were fired, police officers chased the suspects, killing one of them. A Venezuelan man who was standing at a nearby bus station also died during the shootout. Multiple countries look to pull out their nationals as fighting in Sudan rages for a sixth straight day. Gunfire and explosions heard in the Sudanese capital. The World Health Organization says over 330 people have been killed in 5 days of violence. Protesters in France stormed the stock market office, saying big companies must finance pensions as part of the wider protests against an unpopular raise of the retirement age. Waving union flags, the group of 200 to 300 protesters were engulfed in red smoke from flares and chanted slogans. They demanded that since there was no money for pensioners, billionaires should fund the pensions of French citizens. Airports in Germany's Düsseldorf, Hamburg and Cologne were virtually empty in the second round of strikes called by Germany's Verdi trade union over the cost of living crisis. Nearly 100,000 people will be affected by the strikes on Thursday and Friday at the three airports. Around 700 departing flights will also be cancelled. The union said it has been negotiating with BDLS Aviation Security Association to push for pay increases for night, weekend and public holiday shifts, with no breakthrough in sight. The top US trade envoy has said that the US hopes to deepen trade ties with Japan as it fortifies cooperation on economic security with its Asian allies and partners. The top US trade envoy, Catherine Tsai's visit to Tokyo follows a trip to the Philippine capital Manila to help strengthen trade relations among the three countries as they build both economic and defense ties. Manchester City have set up a semi-final against holders Real Madrid in the Champions League after beating Bayern Munich 4-1 on aggregate. The second semi-final will be a blockbuster clash between Inter and AC Milan after the former completed a 5-3 victory over Portuguese side Benfica. 22-time Grand Slam champion Rafael Nadal has delayed his comeback once again by withdrawing from next week's Madrid Masters. Nadal is still recovering from a hip injury and is not sure when he will return to action. However, the Spaniard says he hopes to play some part in the clay season.
On that note, it's a wrap on this edition of Gravitas tonight. We are leaving you with Gravitas images. Thanks very much for watching.
Gravitas tells you stories which others won't. And tonight we will tell you about this new strategic map that is being drawn.
They say your enemy's enemy is your friend. Is that the foundation of the new defense bridge between India and America?
This is what